Good afternoon, everyone. I am Angel. Welcome to my channel. 2 months ago, I bought this beautiful book, The City of Huamanga, Space, History and Culture, by authors Enrique González, anthropologist by San Cristóbal de Huamanga National University, Gutiérrez, architect by Ricardo Palma University, and Jaime Urrutia, historian and anthropologist by San Cristóbal de Huamanga National University. Published for the first time in 1995, this is a second edition from November 2020, thanks to Huamanga Social Club and Lluvia Editores, the publisher. With an exquisite aesthetics of 336 pages and two parts divided in 11 chapters, this was the book I was waiting for, with a style both friendly and professional, easy to read, and with a very long bibliography. A re-edition was really necessary, especially because the bicentennial of our independence is this year and the bicentennial of the Battle of Ayacucho is in 2024. The first part is called History. Although the foundation of the city of Huamanga was in 1539 and the second and last in 1540, this book covers a panorama that takes us from pre-Hispanic civilizations, from Lithic, the Huarpa culture, one of the most important local civilizations there, until Wari, the first Andean empire, and also the Chanca civilization, rivals of the Incas, who in the end dominate the whole area. Founded halfway between Lima and Cusco, it had a relevant role in the commercial circuits that covered mining, farming, and coca production. A city that attracted native indigenous from surrounding areas and beyond, legal fights because of land, a city with a great economic activity, but even in the 18th century, some crisis is evidence, and something that I ignored totally was a series of earthquakes that have destroyed the city, as the one in 1719. 2 centuries after the foundation, the problems because of the access to water persist. The 19th century arrives, and with this, the first plan of the city that we have nowadays. They pass from the colony to the republic, but the city maintains its commercial spirit. With the 20th century, some slow modernizing takes place. 15 law firms in 1901 in a very small city. As the book says, a common threat among Huamanguinos is, "I'm gonna sue you." Another surprising thing that evidently has not been solved yet is that the region is fragmented. The southern provinces are better and more linked to the coast of the neighboring region of Ica than to the city of Huamanga itself. That fragmentation is accompanied by the city of Huancayo, a bigger and more dynamic city which eclipsed or destroys some economic activities and some products from Huamanga. And that road that united Huamanga or Ayacucho and Huancayo deepens that dependence situation. The city grows, especially in the decade of the 1960s, some shining appears because of the 150 years of commemoration of the Battle of Ayacucho. So the Venezuelan and Peruvian governments built different monuments like the stadium, the Colosseum, the museum. It seems that there was more cultural spirit than nowadays, and this is a complaint from beginning to end here in the book. They have their arguments because before there were three spaces in which Huamanguinos could go to see films, and there is only one nowadays. The historical center is being destroyed, and the authorities and the population seem to ignore that. The regional historical archive cannot be opened in its new building. The books of the former public library, which is closed now, are stored in a market. Can you imagine that? As the authors say, for the city to apply to be cultural heritage of humanity by UNESCO, given the current conditions of a lack of professionalism and a lack of knowledge in which both the authorities and the population are responsible, Well, that dream is impossible. It is necessary, as they say, to strengthen that regional identity. The second part is called Culture and Heritage. Civil architecture is inspired, it says, by the Castilian Spanish tradition, and to the descriptions of the many architectonic elements, there are some plans of representative buildings, like this one, the Jauregui House. You can see the location in the historical center, the plan of the structure, and the facade. If there is so much to show about civil architecture, the religious aspect is even more famous and prestigious in this city. Huamanga is known as the city of the 33 churches, and there are also many plans like this convent and temple of Saint Teresa, and beautiful black and white images like this one of the Santo Domingo church and convent. There is an urgent call to preserve the historical center and the colonial neighborhoods. In the middle of so much slum condition, so much destruction, as they say, both inhabitants and authorities seem to have misunderstood the very concept of modernity. A especially curious chapter is about the names of Huamanga Street and the origin of these, including a plan, a very beautiful plan. You can see on the left, you can read the names of the streets, and here in this plan, fully detailed, you can see the location of them. Festivities and ceremonies cannot be absent, like the carnivals, all the impressive and complex Holy Week, probably the most important and the most elaborate in the Western Hemisphere. There are also descriptions of popular art, architecture, and archaeology with beautiful colored illustrations. As you can find here, the arch in the very center of Huamanga, the famous Quinoa churches, beautiful examples of pottery, the Inca Ushnu or pyramid of Vilcas Huamang, and the cathedral of Ayacucho. The very famous retablos, the symbol of popular art in Huamanga, a kind of portable altar, and the no less famous churches. The commerce of such products comes from very early in the colony. The many traders, sellers who connected different cities in what is now Peru and also Bolivia and Argentina. Speaking about Huamanga is also speaking about music, especially guitar. Ayacucho style guitar is so popular in our country. Singers and songs about love, about protest. As opposed to what would seem a tourist promotion guide, again we can see the call for action. A lack of knowledge, a lack of sensitivity by the authorities on the one hand, and a lack of cultural and historical awareness by the population on the other hand, as well as a false or wrong idea of progress, of development. It is incredible how a city with so much historical and cultural heritage permits the destruction of its many monuments. The authors clarify that they don't defend a past ideal, a nostalgic ideal, because colonial city had many examples of abuse. That arcade did not exist. It's not, I think, about fossilizing anything, but it's about advancing, developing together with culture, together with the regional identity. As well as this alert, there are 9 proposals that, having the two bicentennials so near this year and in 2024, it is necessary not only to consider, but to turn them into action. This is a really complex book, complex in a very positive way, with a really impressive number of photos, for example here, maps and statistics, which are together with a text that harmonizes emotion and professionalism, love and longing for the hometown, and rigor in the edition. From here, I want to greet Huamanga and the people in Huamanga. I waited for 30 years to visit the city in 2016, the land of my maternal family, and from very far here in Lima, I love it and I always wish it the best. Bye bye.